Gone are the days when power is at the tip of the sword or barrel of the gun. Power is in education. Hello, this is Teacher Viola again for another video for today. If you are new to my channel, you can subscribe, like, comment, and share to your family and friends. In today's video, we are going to talk about how to remove Filipinism. But before we talk about the removal of Filipinism, let's define it first. Remember in our previous video, we defined Filipinism and we say that Filipinisms are words or phrases that are usually grammatically incorrect or almost always results of transliteration or direct translation. We even further said that Filipinism sometimes becomes very funny for us, but to others, it became subject of mediocrity. I remember one president of the Philippines who made fun of his English, President Joseph Estrada, and we call it Arab English. Remember one of the joke there that when President Arab Estrada entered the Borloloy building, or what we call the new executive building then, the presidential guard asked for his ID. And the guard asked, as Joseph Estrada shows the ID, the guard said, Ipinyo, sir. And Joseph Estrada responded, and by showing his teeth, Ipinyo, sir. And there are many other funny stories like that about the Arab jokes. Not even the military has its share of laughter about Filipinism. I was told of this story one day that there was this story in a naval station. So, you know, the Navy, the Philippine Navy, they patrol the Philippine seas, and we are 7,100 or more islands. So they would stay a lot of days or a lot of weeks, a lot of months on board. And when they come back, that's the only time they go back to their families. And one Navy personnel, when he came back, he immediately packed his things and went home, only to realize that his wife went to the naval station instead, because the wife couldn't wait for him any longer. So the poor soldier went back to his Navy station, and when he saw the wife there, he told the wife, I told you not to go, you go. Look, did you understand? Again, I will repeat what the Navy soldier said to his wife. I told you not to go, you go. Look, now I will translate. Sabi ko sa'yo, huwag kang pumunta ka. Tignan mo. And there are stories like this or anecdotes like this in the Philippines, making English a subject of funny anecdotes. But as you go to the professional level or making your English as your bread and butter, like if you're going to teach English online or you're going to work in a call center industry or become a virtual assistant where English is your front line, you cannot use Filipinized English. So you have really to switch. And you can see a lot of Filipinos switch, particularly in the way they pronounce the things. The accentuation is really very nice. But sometimes when you listen to them, there's problem with the inferential meaning of things. Well, if you want to know what do I mean by inferential meaning of things, you can go back to my previous video, and I have a video on trifold meaning test. And I explained in that video on how you would know the solidification of your English and how English should be looked or viewed into. We are doing a lot of things to improve ourselves in English. And one thing that we have to look into is the removal of Filipinism. Okay, so without further ado, let's go back to our video on Filipinism removal. One rule is to avoid transliteration because we have said in our definition is it's almost always result of transliteration or direct translation. So number one thing that we have to avoid is transliteration. So we have to avoid transliteration. What do we mean by that? So first, let's define again what is transliteration. When we say transliteration, it means describing the sounds of a source word using the writing system of the target word, or simply loan word. English has a lot of loan words. Even Japanese or language from the Japanese language or Nihongo, we have a lot of Japanese words incorporated into the English language. Example is karaoke. So we we do not say singing music machine. Instead, the world call it karaoke. Or the rice that is rolled and there's something in between. Say it's a fish or a flesh of a fish or a slice of a meat or something that we call sushi, or the fresh meat of a fish like salmon or tuna we call sashimi. I think even takoyaki, we don't call it Japanese squid ball because a squid ball is different when we hear squid ball. Sounds like Squid Game, but it's not like that. So we borrow or we loan the words and we put it into the English language. Another is I know words coming from the Koreans. The the Hangul has also um, donated a lot of words into the English language. For example, is taekwondo. Or we don't call it, the karate that has a high kick. We don't say like that. We say taekwondo. Or we don't say the marinated uh, um, cabbage with a lot of things and the color is red. We don't say it like that. Instead, we say kimchi. And others, even in Filipino, the Philippine words also contributed into the English language, like banda. So when you say banda, the word would know what you mean, and the Filipinos would know what you mean. Even the pronunciation is a little different, but we know what is a banda, right? And many more. Now, when we speak English, suddenly there are words that would sound or we write in the Filipino way because, well, if you don't know how to spell, then you go back to the Filipino rule of spelling. How you pronounce is how you write. So we have a lot of that in our language or transliterated words. We have some few translation here that sometimes our Filipino countrymen would think that this is the spelling of these words. For example, computer. So we say computer. So the spelling becomes like this in number one. Or we always say qualificación. So that's actually borrowed from the Spanish word, but when we write it in our Filipino writing system. So it becomes like this. And then we have ocasión. Again, it's a borrowed Spanish word and written in the Filipino writing system. Candy, instead of Candy becomes Kendy, NDI rather. So candy, teacher. So instead of teacher, so we have the TITSER. Individual instead of INDIVIDUAL becomes INDIBIDWAL, individual. Or the word syphilis. We have SYPHILIS, but to the Filipinos, it's just SIPILIS because of the Filipino writing system. And there are other transliterated words. Sometimes you call this cannibalize English. Cannibalize English. So we cannibalize the English words or the English language. And what should we do to avoid transliteration? So first, let's read this slide. In the English-speaking world, it refers to terms, phrases used by Filipinos in speaking and in writing, sometimes which are basically not English or unacceptable or incomprehensible for native speakers of English. That is a further definition of transliteration. Sometimes it's English. We say it in English, but that English is the Philippine English system, and when we say it, it's not understandable by other people around the world. For example, can I speak with Viola? So when somebody hears this, they might view that you are very rude. So you don't know how to be polite because there is another way to say it, how to say it properly. But to us, can I speak with you is a very acceptable expression. And there's this word come again. So when we didn't hear something, we retorted to say come again. But the meaning of that is different from the meaning in the other places, in the English speaking places. Later on, I will explain further. It's for free. That's why we have this joke when Alma Moreno went to McDonald's and was asked, ma'am, is it to go or to here? Oh, for Bandung. Okay, so, and this hold your line when we say it over the phone. Please hold your line or for a while. If we're looking for someone and someone would who answered the phone would say, okay, for a while, and that accent, okay, for a while. And then we say, sometimes we hear or we say, close the light. Will you close the light? I think because of open the light. And then this, do you mind waiting? When somebody asks us, do you mind waiting? And we say, yes, it's okay, I'll wait. I will explain further as we get along with our study why these expressions are called transliterated expression. Speak here. Can I speak with Viola? Instead of that, we have to say, may I speak with Viola? Because may I speak sounds more polite and really asking permission, right? Or you could say, may I talk with? Or can I possibly talk with? Can I talk with you is too rude. Instead, you have to say, may I have a word with you? If you look at the expression, can I talk with you? And you put that into the Filipino expression, it would be very acceptable because that is, pwede kitang makausap. Can I talk with you? But that's not English. That is acceptable in our language. What about come again? So when we say come again, the only thing I could remember is a favorite kiddie song. Rain, rain, go away, come again, another day. Okay, or do you mean come again with a C-U-M? I hope it's not. So how do we really say it in the English way? We say, could you say that again? Or pardon me? I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that. Could you say that again? Or excuse me? Could you say that again? I'm sorry, would you please say that again? Okay, so these are expressions that you could say it in English. The expression come again is transliterated for us. Here's another contention. Would you mind if I put you on hold for a second? Normally, the Filipinos would answer sure, or they would say yes, no problem. That answer is wrong because when you say sure or yes, the because that is a short answer. The long answer there is yes, I mind putting me on hold, meaning you don't want to wait. But for Filipinos, when they say yes, they are willing to wait. The correct answer should be not at all or no, I'm sorry. Why? Because if you answer the negative to that question, do you mind? The negative answer is no, I don't want or I mind, right? Well, if the question is, don't you mind? Yes, I don't mind. But the question is, do you mind? Therefore, your answer should, if your answer is positive, your answer is you mind, right? So you mind waiting, or you are willing to wait. Okay? So the proper answer should be no, not at all, or no, I don't mind at all. Because if you say yes, I don't mind, your English became grammatically wrong because you don't say yes, yes, I don't, right? Because it should be no, I don't, because don't is negative. I hope you understand what I mean. So the next time somebody asks you about the do you mind or would you mind question, you don't answer the positive way, but instead you answer the negative way if you are willing to do that. So for example, do you mind if I open the window? And then you said, yes. That means you don't want the window to be open. You mind the window to be open. You don't like, but you like. Kaya that's why you said yes. So it should be no, I don't mind at all. You can open it as much as you want. Okay? Do you mind if I pop up the volume? And then you said yes. And the person just turned her back at you. So you wonder why I said, yes, it's okay. Because when you say yes, you mind it all. You don't like it. So the person will not pop up the volume. But if you say, no, I don't, that means you like the volume to increase to the max. Okay? I hope that is clear with everyone. We have our own English, and that's Philippine English system. Even in my case, when I teach in the Philippine school, I don't use American accentuation, or I don't use the American way to say things, expressions, phrasal verbs, and all that. I don't. Because if I do, my students would think that I think they will never be serious about my teaching. So I have to deliver and think about the teaching that I have to give. So I have to change my style so that they would understand it better. Because when I teach, I have to communicate. So the way that I have to be able to get through with my students, that's the way I should teach. But when I teach ESL, I cannot use Philippine English. Well, to those people who've been applying to some ESL online job, they knew what I mean. Or if you are working in a call center, you know what I mean. Our English is not bad. Our English is good. But sometimes it why the foreigners could accept it? Because they are more tolerant. No, only the Filipinos are, uh, very sensitive about our English. The natives, they don't care about it. No, because they reached the level that they would be able to understand your way. If you speak to Koreans, for example, or to learners of English, Chinese, these people are very sensitive with the English, not because they are selective, no, because that's the thing that they would only understand. In my case, as an ESL teacher and have been into second language acquisition for 30 years, I understood why it's like that. You would understand it if you teach ESL beginners. So when you speak English to them, it's like you're speaking English to the wall. So you have to make your language simpler, the words, um, the most basic words that you can think of. Otherwise, you won't be able to communicate. But if you're teaching advanced learners, you tell them if they understand this word separated with the others, and they won't. Why? Because they know how to contextualize the language. They would understand beyond lexis. That's why the native speakers are more tolerant than the ESL. Okay, let's continue. We say comfortable the way it is spelled, not as comfortable the way an American would. We use the word already, for example, as no one else does. We say it is ready already, or it is already ready, or it is finished already. This is pure Filipino English. An Australian or an American would likely say it's done. We say for a while, What exactly does it mean? You understand, right? We mean we mean when it's ready already. Again, other English speakers might say just a moment or just a sec, but they mean the same thing, really. The British and their Commonwealth members use take away, Americans to go, Filipinos say take home. So God help you if you asked for CR in any other English speaking country. But wait, we've also contributed to the English language in general. Okay? This is from the English the Filipino way. To avoid transliteration, you should use phrasal expression most often, phrasal verbs. To construct better sentences, you need good expressions. Why? Because sometimes there's no specific words to that situation, or sometimes the word for that situation is hyperlink. So you have to use phrasal expressions. But we cannibalize through phrasal expressions, then we're somewhat scared of it. In one anecdote, it says, uh, Vilma Santos, when she was governor of Batangas, was on a stage. And then suddenly she said, "Oh, I saw Nora Honor passing away." Nora passed away. Nora Honor passed away. Jesus. How could you say that when Nora Honor is alive and kicking? Because the meaning of pass away means to die. I think what she meant is passing by. Am I correct? So she was on the stage and she saw Nora Honor passing by in a car. And we are so scared to use it. Like, I normally come up with a drill of just putting the main word, say make. And then I draw lines and I told the students, if you put up, what does it mean? Can you make a sentence? Make over, make way, make, what else? Or move, in, on, away. And the students will say, wow, you only have one word and there's other word branches out of it. They appreciate it even more. But that's not the way we study in English here in the Philippines. So when we face phrasal expressions, suddenly we run away from it. But the reality there is you're using just one word. Can you imagine? You just use the word put and then put in, put into, put away, put up. You just put some prepositions along the way and you could change the meaning of the word. And it's a beautiful thing in a language, right? I hope our Filipino language would be just like that. Though we have very limited prepositions. So avoid transliteration and use phrasal expressions. Okay, we have here one sample of using this time idiomatic expression, because a while ago it's phrasal expression, now idiomatic expression. And to demonstrate with you how could an expression like idioms, could be very short and would be able to shoot the meaning exactly. So, my sister was a person who loved books during most of her childhood. And a person who loves book is a bookworm. So instead of just saying like this, you could just simply say, my sister was a bookworm during most of her childhood. So, aside from spiritual expressions, you can also use idiomatic expressions. So in choosing idiomatic expressions, you have to think like there are idiomatic expressions that is acceptable to the American sounding, and there are idiomatic expression acceptable in particular English region. And you would say like, oh my. So what should I do? Should I memorize everything? No. You memorize the cliches or idiomatic expressions that is acceptable globally. For example, if you say an apple on an apple of my eye, everyone in the world would understand it. If you say, uh, for example, a dime a dozen. So if someone is not familiar with dime, they would ask, dime, what is that? How much is that? A dozen? A dime? How much is that? Because that is American expression. And there are other a lot of American expression. But if you are inclined to American English, you could use the American idiomatic expressions. Mind you, it's not slang, not American slang, okay? Because when we say American slang, we are talking about the bad words. Don't learn the bad words, learn idiomatic and phrasal expressions, okay?
Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
A lot of people would tell me, but teacher, slangs are easier to learn than idiomatic expressions. But if you want your English to flourish, of course, it's not the case. Another tip is use active voice, avoid passive voice. Do you still remember the active and the passive voice? So this one is the most common suggestion. Why? Because there are several reasons for avoiding the passive voice, and using the active voice makes your talk more forceful and interesting, whereas the passive voice can seriously hinder the flow of your idea. But we are more familiar with the passive voice because we learn English from the school, from the books. And the books, you know, what really the books are for, it is to fertilize our mind. It is to cultivate our mind. But you don't cultivate with, everything is in there. Communication is not to cultivate talking. No, it's not. Communication is understanding each other. But the book is different. Therefore, the book has some puzzle inside. And to make that puzzle inside, they use the language that you will be puzzled, that your mind will move into the words. So, books are using passive voice. Okay? Oh, teacher, what is this passive voice? Okay, I have here an example. So, which one is better? Sentence number one or sentence number two? Sentence number one says, Richard fired Archie. While in sentence number two, Archie is fired by Richard. Which one is more comfortable with you? If you tell me that number two is more comfortable than number one, that you could easily understand number two than number one, that means you are more comfortable with passive voice. That's the danger of you digging much time in a book. So you become comfortable with the book language. Start communicating with people. And when you're communicating with people, you use the style of the first one, which is the active voice.
Oh, yeah, that sounds
If
good.
you have that by and a noun, by, that is actually a passive voice. Or when you have the verb be, is, are, was, were, followed by the verb in the participle form, or the one with the ed, that is passive voice. Okay? So I hope passive voice, active voice is clear with you. Again, use active voice, avoid passive voice. Another thing that you have to remember is avoiding subjunctive mood. Let's avoid subjunctive mood. Let's define that first. What is subjunctive mood? A verb is in the subjunctive mood when it expresses a condition which is doubtful or not factual. I think, I guess, okay. It is most often found in a clause beginning with word if. That's why no ifs. It is also found in a clause following a verb that expresses doubt, wish, regret, request, demand, or proposal, like ask, demand, determine, insist, move, order, pray, prefer, recommend, regret, request, require, suggest, and wish. Okay? Among Filipino, we have the favorite subjunctive mood, the verb try. Can you come to my house on Sunday? I will try. I'm not sure. Doubtful. So, try. It is not only subjunctive mood for us Filipinos, but it's a feeler for uncertainty. When we answer, it's always we try. I will try to. I will try to. Why don't you make it sure? So instead of saying, I will try to visit you next year, why don't you just say, I'll visit you next year? So I'm sure that you will be there. But if you say, I will try to visit you next year, I won't prepare because you will just try. I'm not sure. It's not a fact that even yourself is in doubt about it. Okay? So you get me about subjunctive mood? We hate certainty, they say. We love uncertainty. And the more we are uncertain, we like it. Sometimes I would think that, are we a nation of masochists? Why? Or sadists? Why? Because we love uncertainties. If we find someone with an uncertain idea, we dwell into it. Even our voting system, we made a lot of mistakes in our choosing of a leader because we love the uncertainty that the leaders give to us. The big if, the biggest if is the winner. So if we ask our politicians to be certain, there is no subjunctive mood in your speeches. Use active voice, avoid subjunctive mood, and we will select from there. I think nobody will be Filipino leader. I wrote speeches, and many a times when I was working in one office as a speech writer, they would come back to me and would tell me It's so affront. It's so certain. See, they don't like certainties. So a lot of Filipinos, good paintings are abstract paintings. Why? Because they couldn't understand it. Okay? I don't know if it's good. But for communication, that's bad. Because in communication, you have to avoid subjunctive mood.
Yay! Yay!
Here we have the technical advantage. Use short sentences and short words. We're not tall, right? We're short, so we have typical advantage. No, I'm just kidding. What I mean is, let's avoid long sentences. Why? If you're listening to someone saying with a very long sentences, and then you are trying to figure out it, where's the it there refers to? While that someone is talking along the way, you will never understand that person. Here we have again the culture of uncertainty. We love somebody who speaks in highfalutin words. You know, everyone tells me that Ferdinand Marcos Sr., because we have a junior now, they believe he's a very good speaker. They said he is a loquacious public speaker. Did I always say, no, I listened to his speeches and I didn't get anything. It's just roaming around the bush. And if he wants a longer speech, you make a mountain or forest, and then instead of roaming around the bush, he just roam around the forest. Okay, let me give you a question now. Who do you think speaks better? The Marcus Senior or the Marcus Junior? I'm not lover of politics. I'm just thinking about communication. So the question there is, who do you think is a better communicator? The father here, the previous president, or the son here, the current president? Do you want my answer? I think you know my answer. Junior is better because the junior tries to communicate. Initially, he has really real problem about communicating. But when he learned and he put the Filipinos into him and he was able to enter into the Filipino mind with his short sentences, with his English, he could really say what he really means. Although there's a lot of blind spots, and I think the blind spots would always be there because of politics. But as a communicator, he's okay. Why use short sentences? He devoid eloquence. Why? Short sentences are easier to understand. Look at the best teachers around the world. Try to listen to how they talk. They don't use heavy words. Do you like to take an examination that the instruction is in long sentences and heavy words? And then say, for example, you're taking a bar exam or any professional examination there, and just to ponder on the instruction to take you a lot of time, and you're not allowed to bring in dictionary and all that, so you have to contextualize, you have to use context clue. So at the end of the day, you wouldn't know whether you were able to do the instruction, not only your answer, but do the instruction well. Because if you didn't able to follow the instruction, all your answers are wrong. But if you answer well, because you understood the instruction, you might have mistakes here and there, but there might be somehow correct answers, right? Do you get me there? That's how important short sentences and short words are. What if there's a lecturer or a teacher or professor who would use high intensity words all the time? That the students, when the teacher says something, all the students raise their hands not to answer, but to stop the professor because they have to check what is the meaning of that in the dictionary. Do you think they will accomplish something in the classroom? So use short words and short sentences. Why? Because they have more impact. And it says in here, count the numbers of syllables and not the number of letters. Well, as an English teacher, I have this class activity that I would tell the students to write sentences, 15 words. And then when they achieve the 15 words, the following day, I would ask, okay, so we will write sentences using 20 words, 30 words. And you would see that students are really groping for words to be placed in there. And even if there's already a simple word, they will use the definition of the word. Okay? For example, the word repetition. Repetition is the problem. The students would write, the serious problem here is when you repeat and repeat the things that you say. Woo. Instead of just 4 words, it becomes longer, see? Long words are more intellectual, yes. So if you want to project that you are very intelligent, okay? If you want to project that you are somebody, maybe you could use long words. But short words are more emotional. Listen to the priest, to the pastors. When they say things, they use short words. They don't elongate their sentences, that along the way you will be lost. No. I hope you get me when I say using short sentences and short words to communicate is better. And it would also make you avoid transliteration. The next time when we come back, next day, next video, is we're going to talk about avoid direct translation. And this one is the biggest crime for all of us. So we have to use another hour or another period to discuss about this so that it would be clear and we are not rushing things up. For now, it's time for me to go. So I have to say bye and see you again. Avoid transliteration, okay? And to avoid transliteration, you have to avoid what? Avoid direct, avoid using long words and long sentences. Avoid subjunctive mood. Avoid passive voice. Avoid ordinary words. And then we flipped. Use phrasal expressions, idiomatic expressions. Use active voice. Use certain expressions. Use short sentences and short words. Then I say goodbye. This is Teacher Viora saying goodbye. See you in the next video.